Once upon a time, in a kingdom, there lived a young girl named Cinderella. She was a kind, gentle, and beautiful child with a radiant smile. Cinderella had a heart full of love, but unfortunately, fate hadn't been kind to Cinderella. Her mother had passed away, leaving her alone with her selfish stepmother. The stepmother had 2 daughters, and she was jealous of Cinderella's beauty and kind heart. She treated Cinderella unfairly, making her do all the housework. During the day, she had to wash the floor, wash the clothes, dust the shelves, and cook food. Cinderella was forced to work from morning to evening. She dressed in rags, while the stepmother's own daughters wore fine clothes and lived in luxury. She would often seek comfort in the garden, talking to the birds and the animals. One day, when Cinderella was working at home, someone knocked on the door. Cinderella hurriedly opened the door. Behind the door stood a man dressed in royal robes and holding an important scroll. The king had sent an official invitation. The invitation was for all the young girls, as the prince was hosting a grand ball at the palace. The prince was looking for a suitable girl for marriage. He wanted to meet all the girls of the land to find true love. The ball was on Saturday at 8 p.m. Cinderella's stepsisters were overjoyed, and Cinderella watched them with a sad smile, hoping she might be able to attend the ball. But her stepmother was insistent that Cinderella would stay home. The night of the ball arrived, and Cinderella was left alone in her old clothes while her stepsisters and stepmother departed for the palace. She sat by the fireplace, tears in her eyes, feeling hopeless and alone. Suddenly, a soft, sweet voice filled the room. It was her fairy godmother. A beautiful figure surrounded by a soft, glowing light. "Why are you crying, my dear?" the fairy godmother asked, ready to help Cinderella. Cinderella explained her wish to attend the ball, but how her stepmother had been unkind and refused to allow her to go. The fairy godmother smiled and said, "Don't worry, my child. You shall go to the ball." With a gentle wave of her wand, the fairy godmother transformed Cinderella's rags into a stunning ball gown made of shimmering silk and adorned with diamonds. Her worn-out shoes became beautiful glass slippers that sparkled like stars. "But remember, the magic will only last until midnight," cautioned the fairy godmother, "so you must return home by then." Cinderella promised to be back on time and thanked her fairy godmother with all her heart. As a pumpkin turned into a magnificent golden carriage and mice became fine horses, Cinderella stepped into the carriage, her heart full of hope and excitement. When Cinderella arrived at the palace, her beauty caught everyone's attention, including the prince's. As she entered the ballroom, the music ceased, and all eyes were on her. The prince approached Cinderella, drawn to her grace and warmth. They danced the night away, enchanted by each other's presence. Just as the evening felt like a dream, the clock began to strike midnight. Realizing she had to rush home before the magic ended, Cinderella dashed out of the palace, leaving a glass slipper behind on the grand staircase. As the clock chimed, her magnificent gown transformed back into rags, and her golden carriage reverted to a pumpkin. But in the prince's hand was a single glass slipper, a token of the magical evening they had shared. In the days that followed, the prince searched high and low to find the owner of the glass slipper. He visited every house in the kingdom, determined to find the mysterious lady who had captured his heart. Finally, he arrived at Cinderella's home. Her stepsisters tried on the slipper, but it didn't fit. When it was Cinderella's turn, her stepmother scoffed, but she delicately placed her foot into the slipper, and it fit perfectly. In that moment, the prince recognized her from the ball. He knew he had found his true love. Overcome with joy, Cinderella joined the prince and left her dreary life behind. The two were soon married in a grand celebration at the palace. Cinderella's kindness and beauty continued to inspire those around her, and they lived happily ever after.